Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News live from our studio here at Adesanwe in Accra. This is 3FM 92.7. Coming up for the next 30 minutes. Heavy police presence at Chidie and Fuase in the Ashanti region following clashes between the youth in the two areas. We will cross over and bring you the latest regarding this development. Also in the bulletin this afternoon, customers expressed displeasure at attempts by mobile money agents to restrict cash withdrawals to a maximum of 1,000 cedis per transaction. How feasible is this? We have reactions from some of the Momo customers for you in a jiffy. And also, parents and their wards are already thronging the hall of the Ghana National Association of Teachers in Accra, seeking to get placement into senior high schools barely 4 days till the reopening for first-year students. Some teacher associations have condemned the reopening date. We'll dig into the details. We are live around the world on 3news.com. This is 3FM 92.7. It's Midday News. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's settle for the details of the stories now. And we are starting from one that is very close home. Ghana, for the second successive year, dropped in the annual Press Freedom Index released by Reporters Without Borders in May 2023. Ghana's ranking fell from 60th last year to 62nd in 2023. Among African countries, Ghana placed 9th from its 10th position in the 2022 report. This is Ghana's worst performance in 18 years since it placed 66th in 2005. The drop in Ghana's press freedom comes as state institutions like the National Media Commission stand accused of harassing some media networks. The latest are Onua FM and Onua TV, which have sued the NMC for harassment. On Wednesday, Onua TV and Onua FM sued the National Media Commission for harassing the two stations and taking steps that adversely impact their operations. Meanwhile, law lecturer Justice Abdullahi says Ghanaians must resist any attempt by the National Media Commission to stifle the media because it infringes on media freedom. Justice Abdullahi says the NMC must rather protect the media houses from being shut down.
Is set up to advance the cause of any media house or media house, but the media in general, and not to stifle their progress. And so any conduct that seeks to halt the advancement of the media in general and would have to be resisted by all meaningful Ghanaians and indeed by the judicial system set up to protect them. We should all remember that the media is the foundation of a proper democracy. And so any attempt, and this is guaranteed by the Constitution, actually. I mean, without having to mince words. The Constitution guarantees media freedom and the protection of the media. And all this is because of the central and the pivotal role that the media plays. And so any attempt, however caused, whoever caused, would have to be resisted. Otherwise, it would be bringing the entire foundation of democracy to its knees. I think this should be a word to the wise.
And so you had Justice Abdullahi, who is a private legal practitioner. Meanwhile, Professor of Political Science at the University of Ghana, Ransford Jampo, has urged the National Media Commission to be circumspect in handling the issue involving Onua TV and Onua FM.
In a democratic dispensation, if there are issues, one addresses them with some respect. My view is that regardless of whatever may have taken place, it is not in the place of the National Media Commission to be issuing threats here and there. It's important that the first point out that the commission itself is headed by somebody who also works in the media.
Professor Ransford Jampo is a professor of political science at the University of Ghana. Still on the issue of press freedom, the General Secretary of the Convention People's Party, Nanaya Jantua, says the NMC's position on Onua TV and Onua FM is politically motivated. A comment comes after a decision by Onua FM and Onua TV to sue the National Media Commission, seeking a perpetual injunction restraining the NMC from taking any actions that adversely seek to impact on the media operations of the company and its associates. Speaking on TV3's New Day, Nana Asiedu-Dartey said the actions smack of a personalized attack against a person masked in the regulatory sanctions.
You see, we should not use regulatory institutions to do our work for us. If anybody is not happy with what Captain Smart has said, the person should go to NMC, complain. There should be a complainant. When it comes to the work of the National Media Commission, there's always a complainant. You need to complain to them. Then they will take up the matter and investigate to find out truly. Because even right now, where is the evidence? They should show us which of the videos. They should have brought it out, made copies, for us to know which of them that he insulted ABCD. You don't just get up and write blanket letters. And you see, that is where the problem is. It's problematic because the president is the one who appoints the NMC chair, a body that is supposed to be independent. The president appoints the executive secretary. Maybe I slipped and I said the chair, but the president appoints the executive secretary.
Okay.
Because if the president appoints, in consultation with the Council of State, an independent person who is supposed to be independent from any form of interference, and the person is appointed by the president, who does he owe allegiance to? The president.
Yeah.
So it becomes, immediately it is political. But you see, the way the whole letter is written, Bella, it doesn't sit well with this kind of gesture. It shows a form of interference, a subtle interference. You need to have a very objective ear when it comes to what they have written. So what is highest journalistic standards? It depends on who is listening.
And you hear the voice of Nana Asiedu-Dartey, who is a leading member of the Convention People's Party. Specifically, she is the General Secretary of the CPP. This is 3FM 92.7. Let's go on to some other stories this afternoon. And for aid to the NDC flag bearer, let me just add that to what the NMC story and the New IFM debacle is. Aid to the NDC's flag bearer, Joyce Bawah-Mokhtari, has also commented on it and says that the contents of the NMC's letter smacks of personal vendetta. So let's listen to what Joyce Bawah-Mokhtari's thoughts are on this issue.
The National Media Commission is a creature of the 1992 Constitution. It is one of those bodies that was set up largely to defend, more than anything, media freedoms generally. That is the duty of the National Media Commission. How has this Media Commission fared since President Akufo-Addo and his Vice President Bawumia came into office? It is anachronistic, it is archaic even to start to ask that in the 21st century, in the year 2023, we have a Media Commission that writes such a personal letter that refuses to give both sides a chance to be heard. And I love the letter from the board chair or the board of Media General, that for the first time we've seen a firmly written response, one that calls out the National Media Commission, specifically the very personal assumed attack from the Executive Secretary, a man who himself is a lawyer, whom I expect to know better. But you know, Bella, I am certainly not surprised.
Joyce Bawah-Mokhtari is the aide to former President John Dramani Mahama, who is the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress. Now, this afternoon, an attempt by mobile money agents to restrict cash withdrawals to a maximum of 1,000 cedis per transaction has been met with fierce anger by some customers. The new measure, set to be implemented on the 1st of December, threatens to cause a disaffection among customers who feel it would be a great disincentive. Let's speak to my colleague who's with me in studio now, and he's been following this particular story. Christian Yali has joined us. He actually has been out and about trying to gauge the thoughts of some Momo users. Christian, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. To start with, what are the concerns some of these customers have been sharing with you on the directive?
All right, Martin. So you know that already When we transact Momo businesses, or whether you make withdrawals or you send cash to people, there are taxes or even the e-levy that are automatically deducted whenever you withdraw cash from your mobile money wallet or you send to people. And so the concern ideally of these customers is that they fear this kind of limitation or restriction would even exacerbate the already burden they have to endure whenever they make transactions. Now, when you talk to some of them, they even fear if the Momo agent should go ahead with this kind of directive, it is going to cause a disaffection, and many people who currently are on mobile money services would stop using mobile money services and even prefer going back to the bank. This bank system, again, is something that we've been talking about over the years that people are not so pleased with due to the time and then how quick things are when they want withdrawals made. So I have been speaking to some of them, and this is what they have to share with us.
At the long run, it will affect me as a Momo user, because when they are deducting, instead of me withdrawing 5,000 once, then I'm going to withdraw 1,000. At the long run, they'll be deducting me as time as I cash out the money. So at the long run, it will affect me personally. Yeah. With them going ahead to bring in such measure, they'll lose a lot of customers along the line, for real.
I'm not convinced with that, because I have my own money that I deposited into the account. And then all of a sudden, let's assume I have my own personal challenge and I decided to go and withdraw the money to solve my problem, only for me to get to see that I cannot withdraw the amount of money I'm interested in doing, which is a challenge to me. So I don't see it to be a convenience to my option. It's going to affect seriously to me. I will even advise them to, take a look at it critically to see how to address it than to go forward to do that.
All right, so you heard the voices of a number of customers who use Momo saying that this decision doesn't sit well with them. Let's go to the phone lines though and speak to Dela Destan Abochi, who is the president of the Mobile Money Agents Association. He's joined us. Good afternoon, Dela, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your listeners and then your viewers as well.
Right. Are you able to help us understand what informed this decision that effective December 1, people or your customers should not and cannot take more than 1,000 Ghana cedis from their accounts?
Okay. Thank you very much. Currently, when you withdraw 1,000 cedis, the commission that the agent gets at a go is 4 cedis. And when you withdraw 10,000 cedis, the commission that the agent gets is the same 4 cedis. So, how much can this 4 cedis do to an agent now in Ghana now? Now in Ghana, you can't even buy a kinky with 4 cedis. Let alone buying fish attached to it. We have been on the negotiation table for years now.
Negotiation table with whom?
With our principal and then the regulators. And they have sent a deaf ear to ear. You realize that recently MTN has made an attempt going ahead to increase our commission. And then all of a sudden, they circulated messages across that they are putting that increment on hold. We have so many engagements with them, Bank of Ghana, Tigo, Vodafone, all of them. So then our ordeal, how can we survive on 4 cedis? My brother, if I were to be your brother and you have given me money, now the interest rate, how much is the interest rate? So we have taken money from the bank, and some of our colleagues, because of not doing due diligence, we are spending that money.
Okay,
and very soon you realize that we will just be arrested by these financial institutions that are giving us money. If we don't do anything, see anything concrete, we will just go inside.
Okay, so you mean some of your agents have gone to take loans to run this Momo business, and considering the current interest you make on it, is likely you may be running at a loss. But have you had these kinds of conversations with the telcos? and other stakeholders, and how have you concluded on those at those meetings, if they actually even happened?
My brother, I have already mentioned that we had a conversation with Bank of Ghana a 30 ago. MTN even recently was going to increase our commission, and then they circulated the message that they were going to increase it, and then in the dying minutes, they sent another message that they are putting that increment on hold. For 14 years, what type of business in Ghana that will you be doing for 14 years and no increment on your commission?
Okay.
Can you survive it?
Okay. I understand your position, Dela. And finally and briefly, we know that this has already received some kind of backlash. The customers are saying they do not agree with you or on it. You are saying 1st December, you and your members are implementing this. What's the right way forward? Are you still going to go ahead with it?
My brother, when the government increased the e-levy, were we happy? We were not happy. And we said that it will affect our business. And government has increased it. Has the business increased? Has it grown or it has reduced?
Okay, Dela, we thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We'll see how this plays out in the coming days as more customers are also sharing their thoughts on it. Dela Dastan Abochi is president of the Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana. So let's wrap this conversation up with Christian, who's still with us in studio. So, it is obvious that the concerns raised by the Momo agents sound legitimate.
Exactly.
As to whether or not it is, people have sights on it. But what is the way forward, especially after talking to the customers about what they intend to do?
Great. So the way forward, even to start off with, some of the Momo agents themselves have reservations about this new directive. So, for instance, one of them whom I spoke with raises the concern about long queues and all of that. So if you have a lot of customers to attend to and you have to withdraw, if let's say everyone is going to withdraw 2,000 or even 3,000, and they have to do it one, as in 1,000 cedis per each of them, they believe that it is going to be a disincentive, or it is going to affect their productivity and how many customers they are able to attend to. So in the long run, we see how things go out, but we can take a listen to what one of the agents themselves had to say about this.
From above 3,000, my commission endorsed, but from 1,000 to 2,009, the commission should be the same. But from above 3,000, and the commission any high, to my point, since 1,000, maybe in Crawford, so I feel so be 1,000, but any above way. 3,000 the commission a bit my okay, they are fine. So me mama na increase here, but from 1,000 we next one secure ne bar. At first will be 10,000, I'll be 10. It waste time.
All right, so you had a Momo agent there also sharing their side of the story. It's a very touchy subject. We'll see in the coming days how it plays out. But thank you very much, Christian Yali, who has been keeping very close eye on this development. With a few days to the 1st of December, we'll see what happens. To some other stories now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor says it has commenced investigations into suspected corruption in government payroll. The Special Prosecutor, Kisieja Abeng, during a press conference on Wednesday, said the investigation is being done in phases, starting with the payroll of the Ghana Education Service and the public health institutions. According to him, the next phase would involve the payroll of metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. Let's listen briefly to the OSP, then we'll come and subject this recent submission to some analysis.
OSP has commenced corruption risk assessment and investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of Government of Ghana payroll administration. The assessment and investigation are especially aimed at isolating and removing non-existent names, recovering wrongful payments, and the prosecution of persons suspected to be culpable for any offenses. The Controller and Accountant General's Department is actively collaborating with the OSP on this investigation and assessment. Indeed, a joint project team of selected staff of the two institutions has been formed. Investigation and assessment will cover all banks and employees on government payroll.
And that's the Special Prosecutor Kisieja Abeng saying that his office will start undertaking some payroll audits, and they are going to be the next phase will be from the Metropolitan Municipal and District Assemblies. Let's go to the phone lines now. Seth Abloso is a labor analyst and expert. He's joined us for a quick chat. Seth, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Right, so kindly reposition yourself so we can have a clearer line to you. While at that, the announcement of the moves by the OSP to primarily eliminate ghost names is not the first time. This seems to be a yearly conversation. What, in your estimation, can the OSP actually do to make sure that we do not have a repetition of this same we'll clean ghost names conversation?
Thank you. I believe it will be important to have the Auditor General participating fully. Now, if this still exists, then we are dealing with serious organized crime. Because if we have social security numbers, Ghana card registration and all that, and monies are being paid through the bank, and ghosts are still operating in this system, then we have a Herculean job on our hands. But it would be necessary also that once we deal with corruption, offices like the OSP, our legislation should begin dealing with passive corruption as well. Passive corruption is the instance where people know that wrongdoing is being done and they look the other way. Sometime back in Belgium, when a deputy prime minister and secretary general of NATO was sentenced, he had 2 years suspended sentence for corruption. Another person who was also guilty of, was found guilty of passive corruption. Now that is a regime that is serious about fighting corruption.
Okay, Mr. Abloso, I get the feeling you are very optimistic that if these state institutions, including the Auditor General, the OSP, all marshal resources, we actually can deal with the issue of corruption. But we also have a digitized...
Yes, we can, but I think we need also to that persons who see this wrongdoing and look the other way whilst in office can still be culpable. That's where I'm talking about passive corruption.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. We would definitely have to leave it here for now, but we'll be engaging you some more in the coming days as we see how the OSP intends to approach this very dodgy subject of ghost names found on government payrolls. Seth Abloso is a labor analyst. On to some other stories this afternoon, and quick trip to the Volta region because administrative officer at Crisport Farms Limited asserts that with crucial government support, farmers at Aveime have the potential not to only meet the local rice demand, but also become key players in the global market. Nete comments the government's strategic move to limit rice imports, emphasizing its positive impact on bolstering domestic production and fostering economic growth. Emmanuel Samani has actually been on a trip to Aveime and its environs, where we know it's one of the hubs of Ghana's rice growth. He's joined us on the phone for a quick chat. Samani, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. I'm sure you've been engaging some of the rice farmers there. What do they make of government's proposal to ban, more or less, the importation of rice?
Thank you very much, Martin. Farmers here are lauding government for this approach. They believe that once government puts a restriction on the importation of rice, it is actually good for them and good for us in the long term, because they say that what happens when, for example, war breaks out in these rice producing countries in which we import the rice from. And so they have lauded government's initiative to restrict the importation of rice, because they also believe that they have the capacity, the capability to produce enough and more so to even export rice out of the country. And so they are welcoming government's decision, and they say that indeed it is the right way to go, Martin.
All right. And I'm sure you also run by them the fact that government is promising to inject some $600 million into the rice production generally. What do they make of that? And are they confident that could ever happen?
Right. So speaking with Daniel Mete, the executive officer, he says absolutely they have the potential, the capability to do that. But what they would require is support. And this 600 million injection into the rice subsector is all that they need to ensure that they can produce the rice that everyone wants here in this country. And so they are just asking government for the support, research, for tools, for the use of AI, irrigation. And with all these in place, they will be able to produce enough rice for all of us and for export as well, Martin.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel Samani reporting from Aveime, specifically in the Volta. It's right in between Eastern and Volta region thereabouts, and talking to some rice farmers on government's intention to ban importation of rice. What are your personal thoughts on this? We'll be happy to hear it on our various social media platforms. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. Let's go to some stories in the Ashanti region before we delve into education, because in the Ashanti region, around the areas of Chidie and Fuase, there is heavy police presence to maintain some semblance of calm following some clashes between the youth in these two areas. Youth from the two communities clashed and destroyed some property, with some individuals sustaining injuries in the process over a misunderstanding during a football competition for basic schools on Wednesday. We will get you details of this particular story in our subsequent bulletins, but we are told that the Echuwa-Kwauma District Security Council has launched investigations into the disturbances and called for security beef up in the area to maintain the calm that currently has returned to the area. Let's do education now, because the 2023 school placement was released on Tuesday, the 28th of November, and some reactions have already started pouring in. According to the Ministry of Education, out of the total number of 598,839 results received from the West African Examination Council, WAEC, 585,797 candidates qualified to be placed. And my colleague Grace Hamwa-Ajiman has been following the fact that some parents are saying, in as much as they are still trying, they are happy about the current placements, their wards are yet to be placed, so the process is still ongoing. Grace Hamwa-Ajiman has joined us on phone for a quick chat. Grace, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Where have you been, and what are some of the reactions you are getting following the release of the placement results?
Hi, Martin. So thank you for having me. I have been to the Accra, what they call the Accra Solution Center at the Nat Hall, where hundreds of parents and guardians and the children have come to find some answers to the problems that have arisen from the placements. There are three main issues. Some of them are there because their children didn't get any of the schools placed. Some of them are there because their children had boarding schools, but they want to change today. And some of them are also there to also change the courses that they were given. And the parents tell me that comparing this year's process to the previous years, this year has been quite easier than what we have experienced in the previous years. But they wish that these issues will not even come up at all, so that as soon as the children select the schools to get placements, because previously they were choosing 6 schools, but this year the children chose as many as 11 schools. And so the parents were expecting that because they have chosen as many as 11 schools, there wouldn't be any of these issues coming up. But this year they have also come up. And so when you come to the Solution Center, it is the same stories that always happen since the system was introduced. And the parents and the children will have to go through until each student is placed, so that they can come to some form of conclusion.
All right, Grace, thank you so much for that report. Our subsequent bulletins will give you further details of what exactly has been happening regarding the school placement and the fact that they have announced a new reopening date, which many parents are already reacting to very angrily. This has been the Midday News, live from our studio here at Adesawe in Accra. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Business is next with Menuafo. Have a good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
This is Business Daily. Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's edition. Coming up, Ken Oforiatta blames delay in receiving second tranche of International Monetary Fund bailout on official creditor committee of the fund.
All our papers have already been distributed to the various directors who will do that. And now we need to wait for the formal response from the OCC.
Also, African Center for Energy Policy warns against politicians disguised as investors targeting Tema Oil Refinery.
It appears as if we don't have any serious company that can actually take over at all and do the proper investment that is required. And you have the same politicians masquerading around it.
Plus, 8 African countries commence trading under the AFCFTA's guided trade initiative.
What we want to plead with the AFTA Secretariat, which is the mandatory institution to make sure that this agreement works.
My name is Menu Aful. We have the details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. Stay with us. Thank you so much for your time. Straight to our first story. Despite the delay in receiving the second tranche of the IMF bailout program, government has assured that the official creditor committee of the International Monetary Fund will complete its work soon to ensure Ghana receives the second tranche of the fund's bailout program, citing the nation's fulfillment of all requisite obligations for its completion. Initially projected to arrive by the third week of November, the expected disbursement has not yet materialized. However, addressing the media during the sidelines of the Securities and Exchange Commission's 25th anniversary, Ken Oforiatta blamed the delay on administrative and on the official creditor committee.
The expectation is that this is with regards to the Paris Club and official creditor committee. So we have completed all we need to do. The funds, all our papers have already been distributed to the various directors who will do that. And now we need to wait for the formal response from the OCC. I think they are looking at issues or the cut-off dates and its implications to each of the credits that the various countries have given. And I pray that those analyses, will be done soon. Issues of comparability of treatment, so they all feel that they've been fairly impacted. But I'm confident that something will come out, sooner than later.
You heard the voice of Ken Oforiatta, the finance minister. On to more stories. Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Benjamin Boakye, has cautioned against the involvement of politicians posing as investors in the Tema Oil Refinery revitalization process. He expressed concern that these individuals might prioritize personal gains over the country's interests. His comments follow the controversial Totorenko deal.
The Executive Director of Africa Center for Energy Policy has noted there are credible entities that can be engaged to ensure the revamping of Tema Oil Refinery.
It's exactly the case. It's not speculation, and it raises fundamental questions about why are they rebranding. This is a third of its kind. It started as a decimal capital. It became Torrentco and another entity. We don't know what it will become in the next couple of months. And it appears as if we don't have any serious company that can actually take over at all and do the proper investment that is required. And you have the same politicians masquerading around it, and trying to take over the asset for their own purpose. So that is exactly what is happening. But it's the same people, the same individuals behind the same transaction.
Benjamin Boache is of the view the current management of the refinery is there to facilitate that agenda.
No, this management was brought up just for this purpose. And that's why they brought them. The other management that really opposed this transaction got booted out. So they brought out a management that can actually execute the transaction. So we don't expect anything new from or anything different from what the political position really is. If you want to give up such a strategic asset, the most reasonable thing to do is to call for bids, call for people who can really invest. And then you choose the best option on the table. Why are we fixated on a company that nobody knows, that hasn't shown any balance sheet or credibility to actually manage their asset?
That was a report by my colleague Eben Ejekum-Boateng. Away from that, 8 countries, including Ghana, after satisfying requirements to participate in a guided trade initiative, GTI, by the AFCFTA, have begun trading between member countries. Although there have been some success stories as far as the GTI is concerned, there were challenges with some countries in terms of compliance to the AFCFTA agreement. The following report has more. The African Continental Free Trade Area started the Guided Trade Initiative as a preparatory step towards the full implementation of the AFCFTA. Members of Ghana's business community participated in trade under the initiative. However, some were dissatisfied as they encountered challenges in their attempt to export goods under the initiative.
What we want to plead with the AFTA Secretariat, which is the mandatory institution to make sure that this agreement works, is that they should really be firm on ensuring that countries that really ratify the agreement, and especially those who have agreed voluntarily, because the guided trade was not forced on any of the countries that joined. They joined on their own accord. So they should ensure that they actually walk the talk.
The AFCFTA Secretariat, however, says these challenges identified will help in streamlining their systems.
The AFCFTA or GTI is one thing that has never been implemented before. So we were testing it for the first time. So we went into it with an open mind.
Okay.
That said, we also take it really as an opportunity. What are the gaps in there that we can learn from, or we can try to address?
The Guided Trade Initiative is a pilot which the AFCFTA Secretariat hopes to gradually expand while clearing the barriers to trade among member countries. And that report was put together by myself, Menu Afol. So that's how we bring Business Daily this afternoon to an end. Visit our website 3news.com for more stories. Black Rasta will soon join in with Urban Blend. Good afternoon.